Fishes and Introduction to Ichthyology 5th edition. Group G. Carl Aljuni T. Lastat, BSMB3D, Ruilin B. Humonong, BSMB3D, Ellen Rose Marie B. Tac-ann, BSMB3D.
Our main topic is deep sea habitats. Under diversity, adaptations, reproductive strategies, ecology, lessons from deep sea fishes.
Introduction. In the surface water of the ocean, the water is well lighted, well mixed, and capable of supporting actively photosynthesizing algae. Below this epipelagic zone, however, conditions change rapidly. In this chapter, it summarizes the diversity, adaptations, reproductive strategies, and ecology, and also the lesson from the deep sea fishes. Between 200 and roughly 1,000 meter, or the mesopelagic zone, the light gradually fades to extension, and the temperatures fall through a more or less or permanent thermocline to between 4 degrees Celsius and 8 degrees Celsius. Nutrients level, dissolved oxygen levels, and circulation rate also fall and pressure increases. Below 1,000 meter, bathypelagic zone conditions are more uniform until the bottom deep water benthic zone is reached. It is characterized by complete darkness, low temperature, low nutrients, low dissolved oxygen levels, and great pressure. This environment is the most extensive aquatic habitat on Earth, with the mean depth of the oceans being approximately 4,000 meters. Roughly 98% of their water is found below 100 meters and 75% is found below 1,000 meters. Standards of the lighted world, all deep sea fishes are peculiar in appearance, and one of the challenges of deep sea ichthyology is to determine the uses of the strange structural features. Inference is the main tool in this endeavor, because trips to deep sea habitats are extraordinarily difficult, and similar problems exist in studying the distribution and ecology of deep sea fishes using trawls that are towed several kilometers beneath a ship. Nevertheless, these fishes are so fascinating that they are responsible for a large literature. In this chapter, we summarize the diversity, adaptations, reproductive strategies, and ecology of deep sea fishes. This summary owes a depth to the writings of N. B. Marshall 1954-1960, 1966, 1971, 1984, and these works are classics of clarity that have integrated the diverse information regarding the deep sea fishes with many original insights and observations.
Diversity. The diversity and abundance of deep sea fishes is indicated by the results of mid-water trawling in a 12-kilometer square area of Bermuda. 1,500 such trawl holes produce 115,000 fish from 46 families and 200 species. Peach and Robinbirds, 1968. Similarly, Brewer, 1973, reported catching 56,000 fishes in 61 holes in the Eastern Pacific, representing 49 families and 113 species. In both studies, more than 90% of the fishes belong to two families, the Gonostomatidae, Bristled Mouth, and the Myctopidae, lanternfish. Most of the species were quite rare and represented by the collection by 1 to 20 individuals. Large and diverse collection of deep sea species are made primarily in the tropical and subtropical regions of the ocean, particularly near continents.
The vastness of this environment, coupled with its probable stability through geological time, has led to the development of a diverse and often bizarre fish fauna, which makes up approximately 11% of all known fish species. Probably the most numerous fish in existence are the small or the 10-centimeter pelagic forms. Particularly, bristle mouths or cyclothone is the fish form much of the deep scattering layer of the ocean. so called because the sonic pulses of sonar reflect off the millions of swim bladders, thereby giving the impression of a false bottom.
The bathypelagic fish fauna especially becomes depleted in high latitude. Deep sea fish appear to be totally absent from the Arctic region and are represented only by approximately 30 species in the Antarctic region. The more curious aspect of deep sea fishes is the scarcity of acanthotherian species among them. This is generally interpreted to indicate that the deep sea fauna is ancient and so well adapted to its environment that invasion by recently derived species have been greatly restricted. Headrich 1996, another taxonomic characteristic of deep sea fishes is that pelagic forms have evolutionary origins different from those of the benthic forms. Stomatidae, bristle mouths or angle mouth. The Gonostomatidae are a family of mesopelagic marine fish commonly named bristle mouths, light fishes, or angle mouths. It is a relatively small family containing only 8 known genera and 32 species. Scientific name Gonostomatidae, rank family, order Stomiformes, kingdom Animalia. Gonostomatidae. Characteristic, they have elongated bodies from 2 to 30 cm, 0.79 to 11.81 ends. In length, they have a number of green or red light, producing photophores aligned along the undersides of their heads or bodies. Their shape, common name, bristle mouth, comes from their odd, equally sized and bristle-like teeth.
Lantern fishes. Scientific name, Mectophidae. Family Mectophidae, Tac-ann, Gill, 1893. Phylum Chordata. Order Mectophiformes, kingdom Animalia. Lantern fishes typically grow to the length of up to 6 inches and 15 centimeter, although some species can range in size from 1 to 2 inches to 230 centimeters. And length, they have a very slender, compressed body covered with the silvery scales and relatively small fins. They also have a large round and large eyes. The species of lantern fishes, also called by Symboloporus barnard, is a deep sea fish that gets its name from its light producing ability. The light is given off by lethal organs called photophores.
Adaptation. The fish that inhabit the mesopelagic or bathypelagic and deep-water benthic zones differ remarkably from one another in structure. However, there may be closely related species in the different zones. Mesopelagic fishes are adapted for an active life under low light conditions. Most of them make extensive vertical migrations, often moving at night into the epipelagic zone, where they prey on plankton and each other, and then moving down several hundred meters during the day. These fishes have muscular bodies, well-ossified skeletons, scales, well-developed central nervous system, and well-developed gills, are especially in forms that inhabit oceanic regions with low oxygen supplies. Large hearts, large kidneys, and usually swim bladders. The fish with swim bladders are migratory and have an extraordinary capacity to regulate the amount of gas in the swim bladder as they move up and go down the water column by Headrich 1996.
Lantern fishes are small mesopelagic fish of the large family Mectophidae. one of the two families in the order Mectophiformes. That Mectophidae are represented by 246 species in 33 genera and are found in ocean worldwide and lantern species are applied name after their conspicuous use of bioluminescence.
Because they primarily are visual predators, their eyes are large, often with high concentration of photosensitive pigments in the rods of the retina, thereby giving the fishes extreme sensitivity to light. Some of the deepest living mesopelagic fishes have tubular eyes and typically pointing upward, with large lenses that permit binocular vision and concentration of limited light signals. Such visual capabilities enable them to pick out small planktonic organisms in dim light. Most mesopelagic fishes lack spines, so their main defense from predators is concealment. In color, they are either black, lie-in-wait predators, or silvery with counter shading or migratory forms that encounter low light levels. In addition, many have rows of photophores on their bellies. These photophores produce light that helps to break up the silhouette of the fish as seen by predators peering up in the downward streaming light. These are the example of mesopelagic fish. As they do in larvae, these features allow fish to remain suspended in the water column with almost no expenditure of energy because the fish achieve nearly neutral buoyancy without maintaining a gas-filled swim bladder in a high-pressure environment. Their eyes are small and may be non-functional. The most important sensory system usually is the acoustico-lateralis system, although the olfactory system also may be well developed, particularly in males, which often find females by odors. Jumper and Baird 1991. Bathypelagic fish are uniformly black in color and have only a few small photophores. Among anglerfish, photophores usually are confined to lures, which they use for attracting prey. Because of the scarcity of food, anglerfish and other bathypelagic predators consume whatever invertebrates or fish come close enough to be grabbed. This means that the predator must be able to capture a wide size range of prey, which is accomplished by having a large mouth with sharp teeth for the capture of large prey combined with well-developed overlapping gill rakers to prevent the escape of small prey that have been swallowed. Deep water benthic fishes are similar to mesopelagic fishes in that they have muscular bodies and well-developed organ system. However, they are more variable in many of their characteristics. Photophores may be present but usually are absent. Eyes range from well-developed to absent as do swim bladders. The fishes also are variable in size with large species in 1 meter being fairly common. Curiously enough, many if not most deep-sea benthic fishes are elongate, with many being eels, or at least eel-like. The most abundant forms, or at least the most conspicuous, seem to be rattails, macroridae, and brutolas or ophididae, but a wide variety of other families such as the Myxinidae, hagfishes, or Zwarcidae or eel-pouts, Chlorophthalmidae or green eyes, ales, and various families. Cyclopteridae or lumpfishes and Oncocephalidae batfishes also are well represented. The commonness of eel-like forms may relate to the importance of the lateral line as a sensory system because an elongate body results in long lateral line canals. Bathypelagic fishes. In contrast to mesopelagic fishes are largely adapted for a sedentary existence in a habitat with low levels of food and no light other than bioluminescence. These fishes generally have poorly developed and flabby muscles, weak skeletons with minimal ossification, no scales, poorly developed central nervous systems, except those parts associated with the lateral line and olfactory system. Small eyes, small gills, small kidneys, small hearts, and reduced or absent swim bladders. Marshall 1984 notes that these are also characteristic of fish larvae, indicating that these features have developed through the retention of larval characteristic in the adults. Bathypelagic fish is example, anglerfish. Ecologically and morphologically, deep sea benthic fish seem to be of two basic types, through benthic fish and bentopelagic fish. Through benthic fish are in continuous contact with the bottom and are either lie in wait predators or species that move slowly over the bottom searching for food. The deepest living fish known, Ophidiidae or Abyssobrotola galathea, is in the latter category. It is a blind, elongate fish that feeds on benthic invertebrates. Bentopelagic fish live just above but close to the bottom. They typically have diets that are mixture of benthic organisms and specialized bentopelagic zooplankton. Bentopelagic fish usually are neutrally buoyant and notes that they seem to have two different body types, flabby and robust. Flabby bentopelagic fishes are like bathypelagic fishes in that they save energy by reducing body mass and swimming about slowly. One such predator in the cast eel or Acanthonus armatus, which has an elongate body, large otoliths, and spiny operculi. It also has a body that is 90% water and a brain, which is the smallest known in relation to body size for any vertebrate, located in a huge head. Robust bentopelagic swimmers are muscular, good swimmers that cruise about the bottom in search of prey or live in areas such as sea mounts that have strong currents to swim against. The orange roughy or Hoplosthithos atlanticus is one such species and is abundant enough to be harvested commercially, and other fishes, however, defy such ecological classification systems. For example, members of the common and widely distributed genus Bathypterois or Chlorophthalmidae spider fishes, which also are nearly blind, feed on bentopelagic zooplankton but are basically benthic fish. Fishes in deep water benthic zone. Eels, Rattails or Macroridae, Brotolas or Ophidiidae, Myxenidae or hagfishes, Zwarcidae or eelpouts, Colophthalmidae green eyes, Cyclotheridae lumpfishes, Ogcocephalidae batfishes, Abyssobrotola galathea, spiderfish or Bathypteroises ode.
Reproductive strategy. Among the more remarkable adaptation of deep sea fishes are their methods of reproduction. Because population densities of many species are extremely low, just finding a meat a major problem. As a consequence, many unconventional reproductive state gives have evolved. An additional advantage of this strategy is that the energy required for reproduction is reduced. But not all the expenses of fecundity. Most species of mesopelagic and bathypelagic fishes have males that are smaller than females and have much larger olfactory organs, presumably also because of the energetic advantage. How do deep sea organisms reproduce? Some sea creatures can release hardy eggs and sperm into the water that can survive for a long periods of time, until others members of their species come across the reproductive materials. This is known as swapping and relies heavily on chance of sperm moving through a water and inseminating the eggs. What adaptation in deep sea organisms is more likely to attract mate? Bioluminescence is the ability of an organism to create a light through chemical reactions. Creators use bioluminescence in many ways to light their way, attract prey, or reduce a mate. Some have long feelers to help them locate prey or attract mates in a pitch black of the deep ocean.
Ecology. Physical factors. The main physical factors affecting distribution of deep sea fishes are temperature, light, pressure, features of the ocean floor, and current. Light. In contrast to temperature is extremely important on determining the local distribution of deep fish. The fish follow the receding light levels up in the evening and then moves back down in the early morning as light level in the surface water increase.
In deep sea benthic fishes, finding a mate seems to be less of a problem than assuring that the young will settle in suitable habits. These grenadiers macroridae and thereby attract mates over some distance in other deep sea benthic fishes. Bioluminescence also may play a role in this regard.
Temperature of the deep ocean is rather stable between 4 degrees Celsius. So it seems unlikely that temperatures has much of an impact on local distribution of patterns. Pressure like light has a major impact on the vertical distribution of deep sea fishes because it increases at the rate of 1 atm per 10 meters. The absence undoubtedly relates to the energy cost of feelings that bladder at the great depths. Features of ocean floor and currents often act together in determining both local and worldwide distribution patterns of deep sea fishes, particularly benthic fishes. Chemical factors. The ocean is so well mixed, salinity and oxygen levels are the main chemical factors that are likely to influence the distribution of deep sea fishes. Salinity 1 to ppt. Deep between 100 and 1000 meters oxygen minimum layer. Oxygen level typically are low enough 5-6 milligram. Biological factors. In the deep sea, environment is so hard to study, like predatory, competitive, and symbiotic interiors among species are poorly understood. Predation, competition.
Biological factors. Predation is presumably the most common type of interaction, both because all known deep sea fishes are carnivorous and because many of the behavioral and structural adaptation of the fish can best be explained as mechanisms either to help avoid being eaten or to increase the probability of capturing suitable prey. In the bathypelagic zone, most fish do not appear to be selective in their feeding habits, so who eats whom seems to depend largely on size. Competition, like predation, has presumably been an important force in shaping deep-sea fish communities, as indicated by the surprisingly high diversity of these communities and the striking morphological differences among closely related species that occupy different habitat zones. On the other hand, within zones are groups of coexisting species that all seem to do about the same thing, such as small plankton feeders of the mesopelagic zone and the anglerfish of the bathypelagic zone. Mesopelagic zone. The most conspicuous feature of the mesopelagic zone ecology is that many of the fishes make nightly vertical migration into the epipelagic zone. This enables them to take advantage of the abundant zooplankton in the surface waters, which also often move upward at night, and yet avoid full-time exposure to epipelagic predators. Where an oxygen minimum layer exists, migrating mesopelagic fish may further avoid large predators by seeking refuge in it. The result of this migration seems to be a net export of energy downward. Much of this energy may be recycled in the mesopelagic zone through predaceous fish and copepods that filter feed in part in fecal material. Some is lost downward and supports bathypelagic fish. However, some is recycled upward through squid and other epipelagic nocturnal predators that forage in the mesopelagic zone. The importance of energy recycling within this zone is indicated by the large population of fish that do not make vertical migration or that migrate on an irregular basis, and many of these species are predators that simply wait in the water column and prey on passing migratory and zooplankton. Bathypelagic zone. If the most conspicuous feature of the mesopelagic zone is the movement of fish, the most conspicuous feature of the bathypelagic zone is the lack of movement. The dominant fish of this zone, anglerfishes and bristle mouths, seem to spend most of their time suspended in the water column, waiting for prey organisms to pass by or be lured to them by their photophores. Bathypelagic fish are extreme generalists in their feeding, which is necessary because of the scarcity of food. The limited energy available in this zone all comes from above, from fecal materials, detritus, and an occasional mesopelagic fish or invertebrate. The scarcity of bathypelagic fish below 3,000 meters presumably reflects in part the small amount of food that filters through the upper regions of water column, considering the small amount of energy probably flowing through the zone. It is a wonder that bathypelagic fish exist at all, much less in such diversity. Deep water benthic zone. Compared with the fishes of the bathypelagic zone, the fish of the deep water benthic zone are active and often quite abundant. Energy, in the form of organic matter, enters this zone through a number of pathways originating either on the continents or in the water column. Organic matter from the continents can move into the zone through migrations of fish and invertebrates, through sinking of plant material or eelgrass, and through currents that flow down and along continental shelves and slopes. That these are among the most important sources of energy for deep-sea benthic organisms is indicated by the gradual decrease in fish and invertebrate numbers as well as biomass as the distance from the continents increases. Benthic fishes often are abundant around the sea mounts as well. Organic matter from the water column enters in the form of one particular particulate matter raining down from above, particularly where the deep water benthic zone and the mesopelagic zone meet, and dead fish, whales, and other large particles that sink to the seafloor, and the mesopelagic fish that approach the bottom during their vertical migrations. Lessons from the deep sea fishes. The ancient and specialized nature of deep sea fishes indicates that this environment has been one of the most stable on Earth. These fishes show some of the extremes to which the basic vertebrate plant can be pushed. That's all for today. We are Group G reporters.
Reporting about the deep sea habitats.
Thank you for watching and listening our video report.